Hello and welcome to Perrysburg High School. We've got your district wrestling finals on the Eagles Sports Network. I'm Cody Wagner here from Perrysburg, Ohio. Yesterday, the Eagles as a team held a record of 27-1 on the day, Adam Butler being the only loss in a close 2-1 decision against Micah Medina of Oregon Clay, who's currently ranked 4th in the state. Butler had a tough draw in having to go up against this highly ranked wrestler early in the tournament. Another kid with a difficult draw yesterday was Joe Sandifer. He had to take on the number 1 ranked wrestler in the state at 126 pounds, and he ultimately won that match by a 3-1 decision over Phoenix Cantos of Toledo weight. Really such an impressive match from Joe Sandifer yesterday, getting the takedown late in regulation. Today, however, the competition gets far more difficult. Today, we've got the semifinals and finals matches, along with 4 rounds of consolation matches. You've got to be inside the top 4 if you want to move on to the state competition next weekend in Columbus, Ohio. With this skill level beginning to ratchet up here today, we'll see how the Eagles handle these difficult matches. And as head coach John Heffernan told me earlier this week, all he is worried about is sending 14 wrestlers through to the state competition, and we'll see if they're able to realize that success here today from Perrysburg High School. Now, let's run you through some of the matches the Eagles will have to wrestle here today. Starting at 106 pounds in the semifinals will be Ethan Timar. He'll have to take on Aiden Dodd of Perrysburg. Dodd is currently ranked 6th in the state at 106 pounds. This is going to be a well-contested match between Dodd and Timar. Dodd's record stands at 34-7 on the season. Yesterday had a fall in 47 seconds, then in the quarterfinals had a tech beating Josh Novak of St. Ignatius. Then at the moment they're giving the call out to the 106 and 113 pounders. I believe that we will begin with these first consolation matches. Last night they only wrestled the championship matches, so we'll move down to the consolation bracket to wrestle those matches. Then later in the day we will move back up to wrestle these semifinal matches. But a wrestler you will see in one of these consolation matches will be Adam Butler, who lost to Micah Medina last night. Butler still has an opportunity to punch his ticket into states, but the road gets much harder, and he's got to go undefeated on the day or just one loss at the end of the day if he wants to try to punch his ticket to Columbus. But you got to think that Coach John Heffernan is certainly satisfied with the performances from his young men thus far here from Perrysburg. Yesterday, advancing 13 of 14 wrestlers into these semifinal matches. Adam Butler still in good position to try to go to states in Columbus, so a very encouraging sign for John Heffernan and the rest of his coaching staff. The Eagles trying to win their 43rd overall state championship. It would be the 36th individual state title. They've won 7 dual state championships, and it's been nothing short of dominance for the Eagles in terms of how they've done in the state of Ohio. So this is actually a really interesting format for these consolation matches. They're going, the first period is just 1 minute. So we'll see if this is a factor on these wrestlers. I would think that it in a way that shortened first period might help Adam Butler later here today. He starts so quick, and if a wrestler's off to a slow start, he might be able to take advantage of that and get an early takedown. I'm hoping that that might be the case later today when he ultimately takes on the winner of Devon Early and Will Johnston. Early out of John Adams was at the sectional level last weekend. Butler was able to pin Early in 27 seconds, so that'll likely be the opponent he gets here in this second round of the consolation bracket, and an opponent Butler is familiar with and has already found a fall against. We'll see if he's able to do that later here today, but we'll go back to running you through these matches today for the Eagles. Carson Brown at 113 pounds for the Eagles. He'll be taking on Garrison Wisner of Oregon Clay. He's ranked 6th in the state, is Wisner, so Timar and Brown will both be taking on 6th-ranked wrestlers in the state. That'll be certainly a difficult match for Brown. Brown currently ranked 5 in the state, but the most encouraging sign for him was when he took 3rd place at the Powerade tournament, a national tournament earlier this season. His record stands at 35-5 on the season. We'll see if Carson Brown can come through later today for the Eagles. Then you'll get a chance to see Joe Sandifer, who came away with an absolutely massive victory over Phoenix Contos of Toledo weight. Sandifer will look to ride that momentum here against the number 24 ranked Gage Ross. He's from Fremont Ross. So Sandifer taking a little bit of a step down in competition today, actually, after having to wrestle the number 1 ranked wrestler in the state. He'll get the number 24 guy, so we'll see if Sandifer can once again come through. Sandifer ranked at number 3 in the state at 126 pounds. No Eagles out on the mats at the moment. We will bring you that action when they do eventually hit the mats. Also later today, after Joe Sandifer, it will be Cade Brown at 132 pounds for the Eagles. He'll be taking on defending state champ Cole Evans. Evans has made the move up all the way to 132 pounds after wrestling at 106 pounds last season. Don't let that 6th ranking fool you. Cole Evans is a very high-level wrestler for this Perrysburg squad. His record stands at 25-5 on the season. He's a sophomore for this Perrysburg squad. We'll see if Cade Brown has the blueprint to come out of that match on top. Then we'll move to 138 pounds. It'll be Ryan Bennett for the Eagles. The Illinois commit will try to continue his run towards a state championship. And to do that, he will have to try to beat Mannix Wasco of North Royalton. Wasco ranked number 14 in the state at the moment, so it'll be an interesting match for Bennett, who's ranked number 3. Certainly these matches will begin to get more and more difficult as the day goes along, and it will be a very difficult one for Lucan O'Brien at 144 pounds. He's got to take on Ethan Mitchell of Findlay, who's currently ranked number 8 in the state of Ohio. And then we'll move up to 150 pounds later in the day, where Bradley Eaton will take on Connor Holm of Elyria. Holm ranked number 12. So almost all these Eagles drawing ranked opponents, as you'll also see at 157 pounds, where Aiden Peterson will have to take on Jake Wood of Perrysburg. Jake Wood ranked number 8 in the state. Peterson seemingly underrated at 16 in the state. You got to think that that ranking will at some point raise because he has been so impressive throughout the dual season, then now throughout these playoffs. Came away with a big win yesterday. It was a 3-0 decision over Joe Marconi of Avon Lake. It was a very hard wrestled match on both sides and ultimately a win for Aiden Peterson of the Eagles, and a very impressive one at that. And when you watch Aiden Peterson wrestle, he might not stand out the most of any of these Eagle wrestlers, but he just does the little stuff. He really doesn't make many mistakes that allows for big moves from these opponents, and I think you'll see him at the very least be able to keep it close with these higher level opponents he'll take on later in the day. If you're just joining us, no Eagle wrestlers out on the mat at the moment. We'll bring you that once they are, but I'm Cody Wagner here from Perrysburg High School, excited to bring you this district final action here today. We'll have action all day here on the Eagles Sports Network. Basketball will play later in the day. We've got wrestling throughout the day, 4 consolation rounds, then the semifinal and final matches. So only the top 4 will punch their ticket and move on to Columbus next weekend, where that'll be the state championship meet, and we'll see if the Eagles are able to come away with yet another state championship, and I will be there to call that one from the Schottenstein Center. And that'll be very exciting to call as the Eagles try to advance all 14 guys on to that state competition next weekend. Biggest hiccup thus far for the Eagles was that loss at 120 pounds for Adam Butler, but it was a hard wrestled match on both sides. He was taking on Micah Medina of Oregon Clay. Medina ranked 4th in the state at 120 pounds. And he had to wrestle Marcus Blaze of Perrysburg, who's ranked number 1 in the state at the sectional. That's why he was ranked the number 2 from the section. And Butler lost a close 2-1 decision to Medina, who was able to get a reversal, then ride out that third period. So Butler will have an uphill battle here today from the consolation bracket, but for the rest of these Eagles, they really are in a good spot to try to punch their ticket to Columbus. One more win and you've done it, because if you get to that finals match, you're guaranteed in the top 2 and guaranteed a spot in going to Columbus. Balin Wah also had 2 very impressive performances yesterday at 215 pounds for the Eagles. Had a pin of Abdel Woody of Shaker Heights. Then later in the day, pinned Clay Broadhurst of Avon Lake. Today, he will be taking on Dominic May of Brunswick. May is currently unranked in the state at 215 pounds, but so is Balin Wah, as they have the injured Zach Del Santer in the rankings, and Wah has done a great job in replacing Del Santer throughout this season. Wah's record on the season stands at 19-3, and those 2 falls yesterday were absolutely huge, and he'll try to carry that momentum here today in that semifinals match later. Also for the Eagles at 285 pounds, it is Nate Gregory. Gregory yesterday got a fall in 27 seconds in his first round match over Lewis Gallagher of Avon Lake. Then a closer match against Mike Eisen of Strongsville. It was a 9-4 decision. Today he will be taking on Austin Dye of Midview. Dye at the moment is ranked number 6 in the state at heavyweight, so 5 versus 6 will certainly be an interesting matchup between those two men later. I also want to talk about this 175-pound division. It is absolutely stacked up at the top between those top 3 wrestlers. It's Miles Tackett's for Perrysburg. Record stands at 43-2 on the season. He's ranked number 1 in the state. Then you obviously got Jarrell Miller today for the Eagles. He's ranked number 2 in the state. Then it will be Andrew Leiber of Toledo St. Francis. He's the senior. He's ranked number 4 in the state, and that's who Jarrell Miller will have to take on in his semifinal match. We'll see if he's able to get the job done, but an encouraging sign for Jarrell Miller was earlier this season when he was able to defeat Luke Venadia of Brecksville in an 8-5 decision. Venadia ranked number 3 in the state at 175 pounds. So for Jarrell Miller, he can beat this top talent, and he's shown that already. We'll see if he can do it yet again here today from Perrysburg High School. With that, we will take a brief pause here on the Eagles Sports Network.